Ric Bucher joins us. Yesterday, you were on The Odd Couple. Outstanding show, by the way. 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific. Chris Broussard and Rob Parker. And you said that, is it the only reason, one of the reasons, that James Harden wants out of Houston is because Tilman Fertitta is a Trumper?
Well, this actually got this got skewed because the point that I was making, or the reason that I brought it up, was that not so much that it's politics that's driving Harden and Westbrook out, but that Fertitta's political leanings, like there's a number of guys with the Rockets that are aware of them and don't like him or being in Houston because of it. So where it fits on a factor, as far as starting over, whatever it may, I can't assess. Is it the driving factor? I highly doubt that. Is it a factor? That's what I'm told. Is it's one of the things that they do not like. Now, LeBron didn't and doesn't like the fact that Dan Gilbert was a huge Trump endorser.
Sure.
And
I heard the exact same thing.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So was it a factor in his desire to leave Cleveland? Was it a factor in their troubled relationship? Yes. Was it the only reason they left Cleveland to go to LA? No. So I brought it up simply because I was hearing that not only was that an issue with Harden and Westbrook looking a little sideways at Fertitta, but that there are some other guys there that are troubled by the same thing. And it's Tilman just doesn't seem to be a very popular guy among the Rockets collectively. And that was my point for bringing it up.
Well, no, I mean, he came in and they lost in gut-wrenching fashion. And, he wants to slash and burn and break it all down. And he did one of these, like, all I've done is won. Like, dude, it's a restaurant business. It's completely different than winning in professional sports. And even if you want to bring in the UFC business, like, you weren't actually a wrestler fighter yourself. Like, you're just those guys, they more than roll their eyes. They actually get offended by it, which they should.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, it's no offense to Stephen Silas. I'm glad that after all these years that he's getting a shot. Everything I know about him, I hope he is successful, and there's no reason to believe that he can't be. Is he going to be the next Steve Kerr? That's a pretty tall bar. I mean, that's a pretty high bar to clear. Is Raphael Stone ready to do everything that Daryl Morey did? Probably not. It takes a while to develop those chops and those relationships. And we can debate, exactly what did Daryl do while he was there. But that said, and people that look at it and go, that Russ and James had as much of a hand in their shortcomings as anything else. And I would say, I don't know that those guys would disagree, but it's like anything. They look around and go, can I do better than this? I can. Okay. Let me see if I can get there. And I believe that's a big part of what is going on here. So to answer your first question, the political leanings of Tilman Fertitta are those of the driving factor in all this? I would doubt that highly. Is it a factor in the dissatisfaction? I would think yes. And by the way, we're talking about Brooklyn with a Joe Tsai who is the rare one among the billionaires that count themselves as NBA owners, who has demonstrated that he's not on the Trump bandwagon.
Doug Gottlieb Show here on Fox Sports Radio. We all know it won't work, though, right? Like that's like the working secret, right? Like the chances of that working are so slim. I mean,
well, especially where what the expectations are. It's not just supposed to work. It's supposed to
because it's the what is the definition of working? Well, if you have those three guys together, you have to get to an NBA Finals, and you probably got to win an NBA championship. And I would put a stronger likelihood on them killing each other. I
can't possibly see how it works. I'm not in love with the KD Kyrie combo.
Sure.
And then you add Harden to the equation, and what you'd have to give up to get Harden. It simply and what the expectations are. Like the guy that I really want to know what he's smoking, drinking, consuming is Josh Hart, who seems to think that if Harden goes to the Brooklyn Nets, that it's over. You might as well just hand them the championship. I'm like, where do you get that one? I mean, this is not fantasy basketball where it's just we take the offensive stats of the individual players and think that that's how you win a championship. Has anybody not looked at the Lakers, or let's say just the last two championships? This idea that a big three is how you win a championship. What was Toronto's big three? What's the Lakers' big three? And if you really examine it, as we look at the last few championships, even with the Warriors, it was about their depth and their chemistry, and particularly the chemistry among the top players on the team. It's not just that they're great players, is that their respective talents complement each other. And I just don't see where you look at Kyrie, KD, and James and go, oh, yeah, I see how those pieces, those puzzle pieces fit.
Unless, of course, they're going to try and play with three basketballs, in which that case, I would absolutely favor the Nets to, but the good thing is they have a head coach who has done this before, and they have players who respect the word of the head. Wait, they don't have, that's not. Oh, on the other hand, you got the Bucks. I love Drew Holiday. They might have overpaid for him, but I love Drew Holiday. And, I like Bogdanovich for what he is here. Is it crazy to think, all right, the Bucks don't leverage their entire future's draft picks unless they know once they add both, Giannis signs the Supermax deal?
Yeah, I don't know that there's any way to ascertain that, hey, if we get these two guys, are you in definitively? But what they did in getting Drew Holiday is they got the next best version, and maybe even a bigger version of Malcolm Brogdon. Very similar players in terms of personality and sort of combo about how to quietly run a team. A understated floor leader, but fearless in terms of trying to get something done. Bogdanovich is a more athletic, younger version of Ersan Ilyasova in terms of just a tough Eastern European style player. I love the moves that they made. I don't know if it still makes them good enough, because this is the bottom line. And I just, every time we talk about this, it becomes this thing like, do they have, let's not confuse, do they have enough to convince Giannis to stay with, do they have enough to win a championship? Because for them to win a championship, that is on Giannis Antetokounmpo becoming a better player, not putting a better team around him. Let's not get those two things confused. So I love the moves. I think it makes them a better team. What does it make them a championship caliber team? That is going to be decided by Giannis Antetokounmpo and what he comes back with.
Doug Gottlieb Show here on Fox Sports Radio. That's the voice of Ric Bucher. Okay, so the Lakers go out and get Dennis Schroeder. Are they done?
They're not done trying to get things done, but that certainly was a very nice move. I'm still, I am puzzled that OKC took that deal. I just have to believe that Dennis Schroeder has more market value than that. And I know that OKC is in full rebuild mode, but still, you made the Lakers. I mean, honestly, you add Schroeder, I have to make the Lakers the prohibitive favorite to win the next title, based on what Anthony Davis learned in becoming a champion. And Schroeder can play much bigger than he is. What happens with Rajon Rondo still needs to be determined, but if they can stay healthy, they're the team to beat, and Schroeder only makes them more so.
What happens with the Clippers?
Well, I'm interested to see what happens with Rondo, whether he moves down the hallway or Atlanta. And I've heard a reunion with Boston is within the realm of possibility. And I like him I like him in any of those three places. There's something that I find endearing about him going to Boston, but I think that he would do I think he'd be a really nice fit with the Clippers. So I have not heard anything beyond that in terms of what they're trying to get done. I'm not buying the Paul George for Russell Westbrook conversation. So I haven't heard anything other than the possibility of adding Rondo. And there was the Serge Ibaka deal for Montrezl Harrell. I haven't heard that has legs at this stage. So beyond that, I haven't heard anything definitive.
And then you have the Golden State Warriors. You wanted to hand the trophy to the Lakers. Am I crazy to think the Warriors, it feels like they'll be right back in the mix?
I need to see it before I believe it, because I just feel as if they need I need to see those three together. I need to see what Clay is coming off the knee injury. I need to see what Draymond Green is revitalized after a year, how much he's revitalized, and what are they going to get? What other pieces are they going to get? How much is Wiggins going to contribute? My understanding is they are not they're not settling on those three, take Wiseman and Wiggins, and away we go, and we try to get something done. They're very much out there looking at, can we add some veteran presence? Can we move that number 2 pick for something? And I've heard some crazy deals that would break up the top three, the big three. And I'm not going to mention them because it's just so hard for me to believe, other than Joe Lacob is the owner of the Warriors, and he's tried to move Klay Thompson before. And so I think it's probably being discussed, but I cannot imagine that they would do that.
How would Steph handle it?
Look, Steph will be a pro. Steph will be a pro no matter what happens, but that would be something that both he and Draymond would have to get over. Those three guys came up together. They were all discounted in one way or another. They won championships together. I just, from a chemistry standpoint, you couldn't find a better running mate for Steph Curry than Klay Thompson in all that he does, whether it's his skill set or his personality. And so that's what makes it so hard for me to believe that they would move him. But I mean, look, they seriously considered moving him for Kevin Love once upon a time. So I can't completely dismiss it.
I understand. I don't think I think you have to take a look at, like you said, you got to take a look at what it looks like first. On the other hand, It's like a car. Once you drive it off the lot, it becomes much less valuable. He's Ric Bucher. He writes for Bleacher Report. You hear him on Fox Sports Radio. You see him on FS1. Buch, great stuff. Thanks for joining us.